Princess Vela Saranthi had lost everything in a single night. She stood alone in a small gray room on Station Karis, a trading post at the edge of known space. Her royal robes were gone. Her guards were gone. The glowing marks on her forehead that showed her royal blood had been burned away by her own brother's order. She was no longer a princess. She was nothing. 3 days ago, she had been the beloved daughter of the Alorian Empire. Now her father was dead. Her brother Korath sat on the throne, and she had been named a traitor. The charges were lies. She knew it. Korath knew it. But truth did not matter when the Emperor spoke. Korath had given her one small mercy. Instead of death, she received exile. She would live on the outer stations, far from her home world, far from anyone who might support her claim to the throne. And she was allowed to hire one bodyguard. Just one. Vela looked at herself in the room's small mirror. She was tall, like all Ilorians, standing 7 feet high. Her skin was pale like polished stone, and her bones beneath were made of living crystal. Her people were ancient. They had ruled the stars when most species still lived in caves. They were beautiful, graceful, and proud. And now she was alone. She sat down at the room's computer terminal and opened the mercenary registry. If she was going to survive, she needed protection. Korath would send assassins. She was certain of this. Her brother did not leave loose ends. The registry showed many options. Kreth warriors with their forearms and battle rage. Morvax hunters who could smell fear from a mile away. A Silixian blade dancer whose listing price made Vela's heart sink. She had money, but not much. Korath had frozen most of her accounts. She scrolled down, past the expensive options, past the moderate ones, down to the bottom of the list. That was where she found him. Species, human, name, Marcus Cole. Experience, 12 years. Specialization, survival. Price, negotiable. Vela had heard of humans. They were a young species, barely spacefaring for a few centuries. They came from a planet called Earth, which some called a death world. The story said their planet was covered in poison plants, dangerous animals, and extreme weather. But Vela had always thought these were just stories. Superstition. No civilized species could come from such a place. She looked at her remaining credits. The human was all she could afford. She pressed the button to hire him and waited. He arrived 2 hours later. The door opened, and Vela saw her new bodyguard for the first time. Her first thought was disappointment. Her second thought was confusion. Marcus Cole was short. Compared to her, he barely reached her shoulder. His skin was soft and brown, with no scales, no armor, no protective shell of any kind. He had hair on his head, dark and cut short. His body looked weak. She could see no claws on his hands, no fangs in his mouth, no venom sacs on his wrists. But his eyes made her pause. They faced forward. Both of them, set in the front of his skull, looking directly at her. She knew what forward-facing eyes meant. Every species knew. That was the mark of a predator. Prey animals had eyes on the sides of their heads to watch for danger from all directions. Predators had eyes in front to focus on their target. She pushed the thought away. He was small. He was soft. He could not possibly be dangerous. You are Marcus Cole? She asked. Yes. His voice was calm and flat. I am Princess Vela Saranthi of the Alorian Empire. Or I was. Now I am simply Vela. I read your file, Marcus said. He stepped into the room and looked around slowly. His eyes moved to the corners, to the door, to the window. He was checking for threats, she realized. Exiled by your brother. Accused of treason. No evidence given. The charges are false, I figured. He turned back to her. What do you need? Vela studied him. He carried a weapon at his hip, some kind of projectile gun. She had heard that humans still used such primitive things. Chemical explosions pushing metal through the air. Brutal and simple. He also had a blade on his belt, just a piece of sharpened metal. "My brother will send assassins," she said. "He wants me dead. He will not stop until I am. How many? I do not know. However many it takes." Marcus nodded slowly. "What resources do you have?" "This room. A small ship for transport. Limited credits. And you. That's not much." "No, it is not." Vela felt her pride rising, mixing with her desperation. "I understand if you wish to refuse. I am not the client you hoped for. I cannot pay well. I cannot offer you glory or power. I can only offer you, I'll do it." She stopped. "What?" "I said I'll do it." Marcus sat down in a chair across from her. "When do we leave?" Vela did not understand. She had expected negotiation. She had expected him to laugh at her situation and walk away. No reasonable mercenary would take this job. The pay was too low. The danger was too high. Her enemies were too powerful. "You have not even heard what you will face," she said. "My brother commands the Imperial fleet. He has the best assassins in the galaxy. He has unlimited resources. Why would you agree to protect me against all of that?" Marcus looked at her for a long moment. His expression was strange, something she could not read. Humans did not show emotion the same way Ilorians did. Their faces moved differently. "You asked for help," he said simply. "That's enough. That is not a reason. It's the only reason I need." Vela shook her head. This creature made no sense. Was he stupid? Was he brave? Was he simply so desperate for work that he would accept certain death? She decided it did not matter. He was all she had. "Very well," she said. "Can you defend me, human?" Marcus stood up. He checked his weapon, his blade, the room around them once more. Then he looked at her with those strange predator eyes. "From what?" "From everything my brother will send." He nodded once. Just once. A small movement of his head. Then yes. Vela did not believe him. How could she? He was small and soft and primitive. He had no claws, no armor, no venom. He was just a human, a creature from a young species that the galaxy barely noticed. She did not know what humans really were. She did not know what she had just hired, but she would learn. The transport ship was small and old. It had been the best Vela could afford, and even then she had spent almost all of her remaining credits. The ship had 4 rooms, a cockpit, a cargo hold, and 2 sleeping quarters barely big enough to lie down in. They had been traveling for 3 days. Their destination was a remote station called Haven's Rest, a place where exiles and outcasts gathered. Vela hoped to find allies there, or at least safety. But safety was still 2 weeks away. Marcus Cole spent most of his time sitting in the cargo hold. He did not sleep much. Vela noticed this on the first night when she woke up to get water. She found him sitting in the dark, his back against the wall, his eyes open and watching the door. "Do you not need rest?" She asked him. "I rest enough." "You have slept perhaps 4 hours in 3 days. That's enough." He did not look away from the door. Humans can function on less sleep when we need to. Vela did not understand how that was possible. Ilorians needed at least 8 hours of sleep each night. Without it, their minds became slow and confused. How could any creature survive on so little rest? She returned to her room and did not ask again. On the 4th night, everything changed. Vela woke suddenly. She did not know why at first. The ship was quiet. The lights were dim. Nothing seemed wrong. But something had pulled her from sleep, some instinct she could not name. She got up and walked to the cargo hold, thought Marcus was there, sitting in his usual spot. But something was different. He was completely still. Not just quiet, but perfectly motionless, like a statue carved from stone. His eyes were fixed on the ceiling. "What is wrong?" Vela whispered, quiet. His voice was barely a breath. "It's here. It has been here for an hour." Vela felt her blood turn cold. "What is here?" "Silixian." Her heart stopped. Silixians were legendary assassins, the most expensive and deadly killers in the galaxy. They had 8 limbs tipped with blades sharp enough to cut through ship armor. They could move in perfect silence. They could squeeze through spaces no other creature could fit. They were shadows made of knives. "How do you know?" she asked, her voice shaking. "I can hear it breathing. Up there, in the ventilation system. It's been moving slowly, finding the best angle." Marcus still did not move. His eyes never left the ceiling. "It's patient." "That's good." "Good? How is that good?" "Because I'm more patient." Vela stared at him. He had been sitting here for an hour, knowing a Silixian was above him, waiting to kill them both. He had not moved. He had not panicked. He had simply waited. "What do we do?" she asked. "You stay behind me. When it attacks, don't move. Don't run. Running triggers their hunting instinct. And you?" Marcus finally moved. He shifted his weight slightly, adjusting his position. His hand moved toward his blade. "I'll handle it." The attack came 3 seconds later. The ceiling exploded inward. Metal tore like paper as the Silixian burst through, all 8 limbs extended, blades gleaming in the dim light. It was beautiful and horrible at the same time, a creature of pure killing purpose. Its body was black and smooth, built for speed and death. It flew toward Marcus like a missile. What happened next lasted 11 seconds. Vela would remember every moment for the rest of her life. Marcus did not try to fight the Silixian directly. That would have been suicide. Instead, he moved sideways at the last instant, letting the creature's momentum carry it past him. As it passed, he struck at one of its limbs with his blade, not trying to cut deep, just enough to make it angry. It worked. The Silixian spun around, furious. Its blades came at Marcus from 4 directions at once. He ducked under 2 strikes and deflected a third with his blade. The 4th cut across his shoulder, drawing a line of red blood. But he did not stop moving. He grabbed a cargo container and threw it at the creature's face. When it sliced through the container, he was already somewhere else. The Silixian was faster. The Silixian was stronger. The Silixian had 8 blades to his 1. But Marcus fought differently than it expected. He did not try to match its speed. He predicted where it would be and moved before it got there. He did not try to overpower it. He used the small space of the cargo hold against it, forcing it to turn and adjust. He fought without honor, without rules. He threw things. He kicked dust into its eyes. He slammed his body into its legs when it least expected it. Vela watched a human fight for survival. And she understood something she had never understood before. This was how humans had survived on their death world. Not by being the fastest or the strongest. By being clever. By being unpredictable. By refusing to fight fair. The Silixian cut Marcus 3 more times. Deep cuts that would have killed most creatures. But Marcus did not fall. He kept moving, kept fighting, kept waiting for his moment. It came when the Silixian overreached. Just for an instant, it extended too far, expecting Marcus to retreat. Instead, Marcus stepped forward, inside its reach. Where its blades could not swing properly, he drove a simple metal blade through its neck. The Silixian fell. The cargo hold was silent except for Marcus's breathing. He stood over the body of the galaxy's most feared assassin, bleeding from 4 wounds, his simple blade dripping with alien blood. "You are injured," Vela said. Her voice was shaking. "I'll heal." Marcus wiped his blade clean and put it back in its sheath. Humans do that. Those wounds are serious. You need medical attention. I've had worse. He moved to the ship's small medical kit and began treating his injuries himself. His hands were steady. His face showed no pain. Vela stood there, unable to move. She had seen warriors fight before. She had seen great battles in holograms and ceremonies. But she had never seen anything like this. This was not warrior skill. This was something else. Something older. Something more terrifying. How did you know it would attack at that moment? She finally asked. I watched it for an hour. Learned its pattern. It shifts its weight before it strikes. Marcus wrapped a bandage around his arm. Every creature has a pattern. You just have to be patient enough to see it. You sat in the dark for 6 hours waiting for it. Yes, most species could not endure that. Their minds would break from the waiting. Marcus looked at her. For a moment, something like a smile crossed his face. But it was not a happy smile. It was the smile of something that had learned to survive in places where survival should not be possible. Humans are very good at waiting, he said. We call it patience. Our ancestors used to hunt animals by following them for days, never stopping, never resting, until the animal was too tired to run anymore. We don't need to be fast. We just need to never give up. Vela felt a chill run through her body. She had thought she hired a simple mercenary, a primitive creature with primitive weapons. She was beginning to understand how wrong she had been. The explosion came without warning. One moment, Vela was sleeping in her small room. The next moment, she was flying through the air as the ship tore itself apart. Alarms screamed. Lights flashed red. The ship spun wildly out of control. Marcus appeared at her door. His face was calm, but his movements were fast and urgent. Sabotage, he said. Someone put a bomb in the engine. We're going down. Going down where? Marcus pulled up a holographic map. A planet filled the screen green and gray and angry red. Mora 7, a quarantine world. Vela's heart froze. She knew that name. Every species knew that name. Mora 7 was a death world, one of the worst in the known galaxy. The atmosphere was toxic. The temperature shifted from burning hot to freezing cold. The creatures that lived there had evolved to kill everything they encountered. No. Rescue ships would come to Mora 7. The planet was forbidden. Anyone who crashed there was left to die. We will not survive, Vela said. We'll see. Marcus grabbed her arm. Come on. We need to strap in for impact. The crash was violent. Vela lost consciousness twice as the ship bounced and rolled across the rocky ground. When she finally woke, she was hanging upside down from her seat, her body aching in 100 places. The ship was broken in half. Through the cracks, she could see a sky the color of poison. Marcus cut her free from her straps. Can you walk? I think so. Vela stood on shaking legs. Her crystalline bones ached. Already, the toxic atmosphere was seeping into her lungs, making it hard to breathe. How long can we survive here? Long enough. Marcus was already moving, gathering supplies from the wreckage. Water containers, food packets, tools, anything useful. Humans evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every day. This isn't that different. Vela looked at him like he was insane. The air was poison. The ground was covered in sharp rocks that seemed to move. In the distance, she could see creatures circling in the sky, dark shapes with too many wings. This is not different, she said. This planet is a nightmare. Marcus looked around at the hostile landscape. And then Vela saw something strange happen to his face. His expression changed. His shoulders relaxed. Something in his eyes shifted, like a mask falling away. He looked almost comfortable. Stay close to me, he said. I'll keep you alive. The first day was the hardest. Marcus found a cave in a rocky hillside and sealed the entrance with wreckage from the ship. He built a filter for the air using chemicals from the medical kit. He found water in an underground stream and made it safe to drink using sand and fire. Vela watched him work. She had never seen anything like it. He moved from one task to the next without stopping, always thinking, always adapting. When a problem appeared, he solved it. When a tool broke, he made a new one. When danger came, he faced it. On the second night, predators found them. The creatures were called Night Stalkers in the old records. They were six-legged hunters with teeth like broken glass and skin that absorbed light. They hunted in packs of 20 or more. Vela heard them coming before she saw them. Clicking sounds in the darkness. Scratching on rock. The smell of rotting meat. Stay inside, Marcus said. He picked up a long piece of metal he had sharpened into a spear. Don't come out until I tell you. There are too many. You cannot fight them all. I'm not going to fight them. He stepped outside. I'm going to teach them. Vela watched through a crack in the cave's sealed entrance. Marcus stood alone in the darkness, holding his spear. The Night Stalkers circled him, 20 shapes moving in and out of the shadows. They were testing him, looking for weakness. The biggest one attacked first. Marcus did not run. He stepped forward and drove his spear through the creature's throat in one clean motion. As it fell, he pulled the spear free and turned to face the others. He did not speak. He did not make a sound. He simply stood there, blood dripping from his weapon, watching them with his predator eyes. The Night Stalkers did not attack again. After a long moment, they turned and disappeared into the darkness. Marcus came back inside. He sealed the entrance and sat down like nothing had happened. They will not bother us again, he said. How do you know? Pack predators are smart. They learn. I just showed them that I'm more trouble than I'm worth. He began cleaning his spear. On Earth, our ancestors did the same thing. We were never the biggest or the strongest predators. But we were dangerous enough that most animals learned to leave us alone. The days passed. Vela grew weaker. The toxic atmosphere was poisoning her slowly, despite the filters Marcus had built. Her crystalline bones ached constantly. Her skin lost its shine. She spent more and more time sleeping. Unable to stay awake, Marcus never stopped working. He found plants that helped filter the air better. He built a warmer shelter when the nights grew cold. He hunted for food and found safe water. He carried Vela when she was too weak to walk. One night, as fever burned through her body, Vela asked him a question. Why are you doing this? Marcus looked at her. He was thin and tired and covered in scars from the planet's many dangers. He had not slept more than 2 hours at a time in weeks. Doing what? Keeping me alive. Vela's voice was barely a whisper. Your contract does not require this. You could survive more easily alone. I am slowing you down. I am making everything harder. Marcus was quiet for a moment. The fire crackled between them, casting shadows on the cave walls. Humans don't leave their people behind, he said. I am not your people. I am your employer. Marcus looked at her with those strange forward-facing eyes. And for the first time, Vela saw warmth in them. Not the cold focus of a predator. Something else. Something deeper. You became my people the moment you asked for my help. Vela did not understand. Among Illyrians, loyalty was earned through blood and status. It was a transaction, a contract, a careful balance of power. You did not simply claim someone as your own because they asked for help. That makes no sense, she said. Maybe not to you. Marcus adjusted the blanket over her shivering body. But to humans, it makes perfect sense. When someone joins your group, your tribe, your pack, you protect them. Period. It doesn't matter if they're useful. It doesn't matter if they slow you down. They're yours, and you don't leave them. Even if protecting them kills you, even then. Vela stared at him. This small, soft creature with no claws and no armor, who had survived a death world through pure stubbornness, who fought monsters and won, who refused to leave her behind even when it made no logical sense. She finally understood what humans were. They were not the strongest species. They were not the fastest or the smartest or the most advanced. But they had something else, something that made them survive when they should have died. They had each other, and once you were part of their pack, they would walk through fire to keep you safe. Thank you, Vela whispered. Marcus smiled. A real smile this time. Rest, he said. I'll keep watch. And she did. For the first time since the crash, she slept peacefully, knowing that a human was guarding her, knowing that she was pack. The ship came on the 43rd day. Viola saw it first, a dark shape descending through the poisonous clouds of Mora 7. For one beautiful moment, she thought it was rescue. She thought somehow, against all odds, someone had come to save them. Then she saw the symbol on the ship's hull, the royal crest of the Allurian Empire. Her brother had found them. Marcus appeared beside her, his hand on his weapon. He looked thinner than when they had crashed. His skin was marked with scars from dozens of fights with the planet's creatures. But his eyes were the same, calm, focused, ready. That's not a rescue ship, he said. No, it is my brother's flagship. Vela felt hope die in her chest. He has come to finish what he started. Then we fight. Against a flagship? Against the Imperial Guard? Vela shook her head. There is no fighting this, Marcus. We are caught. Soldiers poured out of the ship. Dozens of them, wearing the golden armor of the Emperor's personal guard. They surrounded the cave entrance, weapons pointed at the opening. There was nowhere to run. A figure stepped forward from the soldiers. Tall, elegant, with glowing marks on his forehead that showed his royal blood. Emperor Korath Saranthi had come in person to watch his sister die. Come out, dear sister, Korath called. There is no escape. Let us end this with dignity. Marcus looked at Vela. Your call. Vela knew he meant it. If she said fight, he would fight. He would stand against 50 soldiers and a flagship with nothing but his knife and his stubborn human refusal to surrender. He would die, but he would take as many of them with him as he could. But that would accomplish nothing. They would both be dead, and Korath would win anyway. We surrender, she said. For now. They walked out of the cave with their hands raised. The soldiers grabbed them roughly, putting chains on their wrists. Vela held her head high, refusing to show fear. Beside her, Marcus was silent, his eyes moving constantly, watching everything. They were brought onto the flagship and dragged through its shining corridors. Vela remembered these halls. She had walked them as a princess, surrounded by servants and admirers. Now she walked them as a prisoner, covered in dirt and wearing rags. The throne room was exactly as she remembered. High ceilings painted with scenes of Allurian glory. Tall windows showing the stars beyond. And at the far end, a throne of crystal and gold, where her brother sat like a spider in its web. Korath smiled as they were forced to their knees before him. Sister, he said. You look terrible, brother. Vela kept her voice steady. You look like a murderer. I prefer the word emperor. Korath leaned forward, studying her. You survived longer than I expected. 43 days on a death world. Impressive. Was it your pet human who kept you alive? He is not my pet. No? Then what is he? Korath turned his attention to Marcus. His eyes moved over the human with obvious disgust. I have heard stories about your kind. Death world survivors, yes. How romantic. How primitive. Tell me, Human, do you feel proud? Protecting a fallen princess on a planet that wanted to kill you? Marcus said nothing. He just looked at Korath with those calm, steady eyes. Not very talkative, is he? Korath laughed. The nobles around the throne room laughed with him. Well, it does not matter. You have both been found guilty of treason against the Empire. The sentence is death. Tomorrow you will be executed in front of the entire court. The charges are lies, Vela said. I committed no treason. You know this. Perhaps. But I am the Emperor now, and my word is law. Korath waved his hand dismissively. Take them to the cells. Let them spend their final night thinking about their mistakes. The guards stepped forward, but before they could grab Marcus, he spoke. I have a counteroffer. The room went silent. Korath stared at the human like he had grown a second head. A counteroffer? The Emperor laughed. You are a prisoner in chains, about to die. What could you possibly offer me? Single combat. Marcus's voice was calm and clear. Your champion against me. If I win, Vela goes free. If I lose, you can kill us both. Laughter exploded through the throne room. Nobles clutched their sides. Generals sneered. Even the guards seemed amused. Korath's smile grew wider. You want to fight my champion? Do you even know who my champion is? Does it matter? Korath gestured to his right. A figure stepped forward from the shadows. General Viros, the most feared warrior in the Allurian Empire. Viros was 9 feet tall. His body had been enhanced with the best military technology available. His bones were reinforced with metal. His muscles had been multiplied. His reflexes had been accelerated until he could dodge laser fire. He had fought in 40 campaigns and never lost a single duel. He looked at Marcus like a giant looking at an insect. This is your champion, Korath said. General Viros, the undefeated. He has killed thousands. He has never known defeat. Are you certain you want to fight him, human? Vela grabbed Marcus's arm. You fool. You will die. Why would you do this? Marcus looked at her. His expression was calm, almost peaceful. Because you asked me to defend you, he said quietly. And I said yes. That was before. This is different. This is suicide. No. Marcus turned back to Korath. This is what humans do. We don't give up. We don't surrender. We don't accept death just because someone tells us to. He stepped forward, chains rattling. I accept whatever terms you want. But if I win, she goes free. You give your word as emperor in front of all these witnesses. Korath studied him for a long moment. Then he smiled. A cruel, satisfied smile. Very well. I accept your challenge. Tomorrow you will fight General Viros in the arena. When you die, your body will be thrown into space with my sisters. And the entire galaxy will see what happens to those who challenge the Allurian Empire. He waved his hand. Take them away. As the guards dragged them to the cells, Vela looked at Marcus with tears in her eyes. Why? She whispered. You could have stayed silent. You could have died quickly, without pain. Why challenge him? Marcus looked at her. In the dim light of the corridor, his eyes seemed to glow. Because there's always a chance, he said. No matter how small. And humans don't give up when there's still a chance. There is no chance. Viros cannot be beaten. Marcus smiled. It was a strange smile, fierce and wild and full of something Vela could not name. We'll see. They were thrown into separate cells. Vela spent the night crying, praying to God she had abandoned long ago. Tomorrow, the human who had saved her life would die for her. And there was nothing she could do to stop it. In the cell next to hers. Marcus Cole sat in the darkness and began to plan. He was not afraid. He had been afraid many times in his life. He had been afraid on Earth, hunting animals that could kill him with one swipe. He had been afraid in space, fighting creatures with more limbs and more strength than he would ever have. But fear was just another enemy. And humans had learned long ago how to fight their enemies. Tomorrow, he would face a giant. A monster created by technology and training and genetic perfection. But Marcus was human. And humans had been killing giants since the beginning of time. He closed his eyes and slept. He would need his strength. The arena was filled with 10,000 Allurians. They sat in rising circles around a circular fighting floor, their crystal bones gleaming under the bright lights. Nobles wore their finest robes. Generals displayed their medals. The emperor himself watched from a golden balcony. Surrounded by servants and guards, they had all come to watch a human die. Vela was brought to a platform near the arena floor, chained to a railing so she could see everything. Korath wanted her to watch. He wanted her to see her last hope destroyed before her eyes. The crowd roared as General Viros entered the arena. He was even more terrifying in the light. 9 feet of muscle and metal and killing purpose. His armor was black and gold, decorated with the symbols of his many victories. In his hands, he carried a plasma lance, a weapon capable of cutting through starship armor. Energy crackled along its length, hot enough to melt stone. Viros raised his lance, and the crowd screamed his name. Then Marcus entered. The crowd went silent. Then they started laughing. Marcus looked tiny compared to Viros. He wore no armor. He carried no advanced weapons, just his simple projectile gun at his hip and his metal blade in his hand. He walked to the center of the arena and stood there, waiting, while 10,000 Allurians mocked him. Korath stood on his balcony and raised his hands for silence. Citizens of the Empire, today you will witness justice. This human has challenged our greatest champion in defense of a traitor. Let his death be a lesson to all who would defy Illyrian might. More cheering. More laughter. Korath dropped his hands. Begin. Viros attacked immediately. He crossed the arena in 3 massive steps, his lance blazing with energy. The weapon swung toward Marcus in a killing arc, fast enough to cut the human in half. Marcus was not there. He had moved the moment Viros began his charge. Not backward, as anyone would expect. Sideways. The lance cut through empty air where he had been standing. Viros spun and attacked again. And again. Each time, Marcus was somewhere else, moving in ways that seemed almost random, never where the giant expected him to be. The crowd's laughter died. Viros roared in frustration. His lance carved burning lines in the arena floor as he chased the human around the circle. Marcus was bleeding now. One strike had grazed his arm. Another had burned across his back. But he kept moving, kept dodging, kept surviving. Stand still and die with honor. Viros screamed. Marcus did not answer. He just kept moving. The minutes passed. 5, 10, 15. Something strange began to happen. Viros was slowing down. His enhanced muscles were overheating. His accelerated reflexes were burning through his energy reserves. He had been designed for quick, decisive battles. He was not designed for this, but Marcus kept moving. He was bleeding from a dozen wounds now. His face was pale. His breath came in ragged gasps. Any other creature would have collapsed long ago. Any other creature would have died from blood loss or exhaustion or simply given up. But Marcus was human, and humans did not give up. 20 minutes, 25, 30. The crowd was silent now. They watched in disbelief as the tiny human refused to fall. Every time Viros knocked him down, he got back up. Every time the lance cut him, he kept fighting. Every time it seemed like the end, he found another way to survive. Vela understood now. She finally understood what she was watching. This was not a fight. This was a hunt. On Earth, humans had hunted animals larger and faster than themselves by following them for days. They could not outrun their prey. They could not overpower it. So they simply never stopped chasing. They walked and walked and walked until the animal was too exhausted to run anymore. Then they killed it. Marcus was doing the same thing to Viros. He was not trying to win with strength. He was winning with time. 40 minutes. 45. Viros was stumbling now. His magnificent armor was steaming as his enhanced systems overheated. Sweat poured down his face. His attacks were slow and clumsy. He had never fought anything like this. He had never faced an enemy who simply refused to die. "What are you?" Viros gasped. Marcus spat blood onto the arena floor. His body was broken. His legs could barely hold him. But his eyes were the same as always, calm, focused, watching. "Human," he said. Viros raised his lance for one final strike. He put everything he had left into it, all his remaining strength, all his desperate fury. Marcus stepped inside his reach. The lance passed over his shoulder, too close to swing back. For one frozen moment, Viros and Marcus stood face to face. The giant and the human. The champion and the mercenary. Marcus drove his simple metal blade through Viros's throat. The general fell. The arena was silent. 10,000 Elurians stared in disbelief. Their greatest warrior, their undefeated champion, lay dead at the feet of a human. Marcus stood over the body, swaying, barely able to stay upright. Blood dripped from countless wounds. His breath came in wet, rattling gasps. He should have been dead a dozen times over, but he was still standing. Slowly, painfully, he turned to face Koraith's balcony. "She goes free." His voice was barely a whisper, but in the silent arena, everyone heard it. That was the deal. Koraith's face was white. His hand shook. For a long moment, he said nothing. "Your Majesty." One of his advisors leaned close. "You gave your word in front of the entire court. If you break it now..." Koraith understood. Breaking his word would destroy him. The Elurian Empire was built on honor and tradition. An emperor who lied was an emperor who would not last long. "Release her." The words seemed to cause him physical pain. "The human has won. The princess goes free." Guards unchained Vela. She ran to the arena floor, catching Marcus just as his legs finally gave out. She held him in her arms, his blood soaking into her ragged clothes. "You stupid human," she whispered. "You impossible, stubborn, stupid human." Marcus smiled. It was weak and tired, but it was real. "Told you," he said. "Humans don't give up." They were brought to the medical bay. Vela refused to leave Marcus's side while the doctors worked on him. He had lost more blood than should have been possible to survive. His bones were cracked. His organs were damaged. But the doctors did their work, and slowly, impossibly, he began to heal. Koraith could not touch them now. The entire galaxy had watched Marcus win his freedom. Any move against them would destroy the Emperor's reputation. They were safe. As Vela sat beside Marcus's healing bed, she thought about the question she had asked him on that first day. "Can you defend me, human?" She had not believed him when he said yes. She had thought he was too small, too soft, too primitive. She had hired him out of desperation. Expecting nothing. She did not know. She did not know that humans had eliminated every major predator on their planet. She did not know that they had survived ice ages and plagues and disasters that would have wiped out any other species. She did not know that they had climbed out of the mud and conquered their world through pure, stubborn refusal to die. She did not know that when a human gave their word, they meant it. Unto death. Beyond death. Forever. She did not know that humans had a word for what Marcus had done. They called it love. Not romantic love, but something deeper. The love of a soldier for their comrade. The love of a protector for their charge. The love that made humans throw themselves in front of danger for people they barely knew. Marcus had called her his pack. His people, and humans did not abandon their people. Vela leaned forward and pressed her forehead against his. In Allurian culture, this was the deepest gesture of respect and affection. "Thank you," she whispered. Marcus's eyes opened. He looked at her, and despite everything he had been through, he smiled. "Anytime, princess." Vela laughed. It was a strange sound, mixed with tears, but it was real. "I'm not a princess anymore," she said. "Sure you are." Marcus closed his eyes again, drifting back toward healing sleep. "You're just a princess with a human now. And that means anyone who comes after you will have to go through me first." Vela sat back and watched him sleep. This small, soft, impossible creature who had walked into hell for her, who had fought monsters and survived death worlds and faced giants without flinching. She had asked him to defend her, and he had said yes. She had not known what that meant. Now she did that in the medical records of the Allurian Empire. The fight was recorded as an anomaly, a statistical impossibility. A primitive human defeating the greatest warrior in the galaxy through nothing but endurance and spite. But Vela knew the truth. It was not spite that had kept Marcus standing. It was something more powerful. It was being human. And as she watched over him, she made a silent promise. Whatever came next, whatever challenges they faced, she would stand by him the way he had stood by her. Because that was what Pac did. That was what humans had taught the galaxy. And it was a lesson the Allurian Empire would never forget.